You're listening to episode 131, Paola's Story, a son with ADA-SCID. Hello, my friends. I am so happy that you're here today, and after a month of reposts in July, I could not be more excited to introduce you to Paola, who is the mother of sweet Jakob. They live up in Canada, and I promised first and foremost to Paola that I would mention how much Buzzy Bee has helped her, and this is not an ad, not sponsored, but I would love that. But she just says how much that the child life specialist in Alberta talked with her and showed her how to use Buzzy Bee, and her son gets 3 injections a week, and that she truly feels it's helped reduce so much medical trauma for them. So I wanted to give that plug. I did not know a lot about ADA-SCID before my conversation with her, but it's the term bubble boy or bubble kid, if you've heard that before. And so she's actually written a book that we will talk about at the end, but it is basically you are diagnosed and you have no immune system, and she found out at the very beginning of his life. So I hope that you learn from Paola today in her conversation and really listen to the amount of work that she had to do with herself and her therapist to get to the point that she's at today with her son Jakob. So thank you so much for being here and Paola for sharing your story, and let's get to our conversation. Before we jump into the episode, I wanted to let you guys know that if you are a parent, a child life specialist, or professional working with children, you're going to want the hospital or physician's office or urgent care that you take your kids to have the Child Life On-Call app. It is an evidence-based tool designed to empower children and families during medical experiences. And 100% of the child life specialists who have used this app believe that it can help with expanding child life's reach beyond the bedside. And 100% of child life specialists believe it helps parents feel more empowered in their child's care. Learn how to get the Child Life On-Call app for your facility or doctor's office by going to childlifeoncall.com/partners.
My name is Paola Andrea Fernandez de Soto. I'm originally from Colombia, and my husband Camille, he's from Poland. We have a son together. His name is Jakob. Sometimes in the social media, you will meet him or know him as Jakob Little Fighter. We live in Edmonton, and Jakob, well, everything kind of started with Jakob being diagnosed 10 days after he was born with a very rare condition called ADA-SCID. So initially we were in hospital. Everything was pretty normal. He looked like a normal baby, and then after 4 or 5 days, we were sent to the NICU at the Stollery Children's Hospital here. And over there, they were doing a couple of tests because he was a little bit wheezy, so they wanted to check his lungs. And couple days after, that's when we found out that he had this rare, very rare genetic condition. And then everything started there. It was it was really difficult. It was really difficult in the beginning. I will say that in the beginning, well, the hardest part was when they told us he is gonna need a bone marrow transplant. And then I knew things were serious. I That's when I knew that things were very serious, and it's really hard. I don't think any parent is ready to hear about like to know that your son has been diagnosed with something, and definitely not to, like, if you know that your son has something, you expect that it's going to be, cured with a pill or with an injection very fast, right? But then when you know that it's going to be a bone marrow transplant, and then there are all these things that you need to learn about this condition, Well, we were definitely not ready for that, and then it was really, really hard. I think that that was the darkest time that we had as a family, as a new family. I was a new mom, and I just wanted to show off my baby.
Mm,
And I feel that I still, I still up to date. I still grieve some of those areas, um, and that was kind of like the beginning. That was the beginning.
yeah. Well, it just sounds like it was such a shock after a normal pregnancy, a normal delivery, and then it's like a newborn screening. Like it's hard to even wrap your mind around it because you had
Yeah.
pictured something so different. So it's almost like that out of body experience or something. Where you're like, me, my son, do you have? You know, I've heard other parents say like, I think you have the wrong kid. You may need to check. Like, he was just
Yes.
born.
I think that that was exactly the same. The first, thaw. We were like, you really need to check this again. This cannot be happening, right? And then the newborn screening, like here in Canada, not all the provinces have. I mean, they're in the way of getting newborn screening implemented all over the provinces, but in Alberta, it was implemented in July 2019, and Jacob was born August 2019. So we were, let's say, very, very lucky to have the newborn screening in that moment. But when it happened, because it was so new, we were literally questioning this program, right? We thought we were, well, we're probably like like a negative positive there, or it's just not real. You need to test it again. So the beginning is really hard to accept. And as a mom, personally, I think that the first things that I was doing to myself, just like blame, right? Like blaming myself so hard. Like, what did I do? I couldn't have done much more. I should have known. Um, I think that that was the first part of not accepting what is happening, and literally with the shock of the news.
Wow.
So yeah, it was very complex.
Yeah, I thank you for sharing that because it's true. It's like when we're pregnant with our babies, we're trying so hard to eat the right. Like I remember eating carrots to make sure they have good
Yeah,
eyesight. And like, am I exercising too much, too little? And it's like
yeah.
anything that happens, we just blame ourselves, and that's normal for sure. But it
Hmm.
doesn't mean that it's true, you know. So,
Yeah.
how did you feel like how did you move from that blame to maybe a period of like activism and then fighting, you know, to,
That's
yeah.
yeah. I think that that part, it took me a little bit, right? So first I think the feeling, well, when we were in the NICU and then he was diagnosed, we were moved to another area of the Story Children's Hospital, to an isolated area, right? Nowadays we are a little bit more, let's say, comfortable in terms with the terms of isolation because of COVID, right? But in that moment, everything, or I mean, even the term was like, you imagine everybody with, mask and gowned up, and so it was a little bit different, the concept in that moment. So we were moved to that area, and we were isolated there for maybe approximately 3 months. During those 3 months in that room, I'm gonna tell you, like, the first things is the postpartum depression, right? Sometimes I feel the mothers, when they have their babies and they have the support of their community or their family, they don't feel these depression so hard, all these hormones coming out and definitely leaving you completely crazy, not crazy, but it's like in a different stage, right? It's just different for your mind. But in this case, I was completely isolated. I will have Camille, we will take turns. So I will stay probably 3 or 4 nights in hospital, and then he will take over. And then I will come back 3 more days, 4 more days. So this postpartum depression really left me. I think in those 3 months, I couldn't fight for my kid. I feel like nowadays I still sometimes give myself a hard time in terms of why I didn't use a little bit more of that time to research, to be a little bit more of a mother to my kid. Um, I feel that I was in a very dark time in my mind. I was not feeling good. I was thinking just wrong, and it took some time. And then my social worker um, was seeing my behavior, I guess, and my depression, and I was crying every day. She suggested to see a therapist from the stollery. So they arranged a therapy session in the stollery where I was. So Camille will come and I will go to my session. And from there, I think that I gave myself the permission to start talking and to start open up about the pain and about the guilt and why is this and why I'm so upset and why I'm so upset to life and to God and to everything. And from there, I think that I started that path of reconciliation with myself. And when we were allowed to go back home, I think that also made a huge change because I came home and then I was in my own space. I had, the comfort of taking a shower, relaxing on the couch with Jacob, and I didn't stop with my therapies. I continued with my therapist. I changed therapists, but I continued with my therapist for maybe like a year and a half. So I did my therapy all the way. And I think that that's when I kind of like started finding my purpose and the meaning of all this situation. And then I start fighting back. That's kind of how the process went.
Thank you so much for sharing all of that. It's giving me chills as I'm listening to you talk because it's so important, this maternal mental health
Yeah.
after birth, especially when you're, in the NICU or, it's hard going from, not being a mom to being a mom, but doing it isolated.
Yeah.
I'm, first of all, I'm so grateful that you're sharing that with us today and then telling us that it did transform. And, how do we make sure that every mom who's in the NICU,
Yeah.
gets what you were able to have? Was it hard to say yes to therapy at first?
Um, I think that in the beginning, you tend to, to be in this area of denial, right? Like, I'm okay, I'm doing fine, everything is fine. But for me, I think that I literally realized I am not doing good. I am not doing good. I think that it's hard sometimes for some people to really see, but I feel that sometimes we need to realize that inside our thoughts are eating us, and these thoughts are really not healthy. And you see your baby and I mean, people says, right, like you should be grateful and you should be so, like so happy with a baby next to you. And yes, I was, but the hard part is that I literally didn't know. I mean, at first I was a new mom, but then I was a medical mom and I have never been a medical mom. So I was learning from the nurses. I try my best to take from everything, but I think it took a little bit of time. But I think that it will be very important for all the mothers out there, or new moms, to understand that talking to someone, it doesn't mean that you have an issue. We just need to really, it's a new process. We really need to talk about, how are you feeling right now, right? Are you feeling sad? Are you feeling depressed? Are you feeling like you cannot, it's overwhelming? You need to really talk about all these things because there's so many things that come with the baby. It's not just the baby that you're taking care of. You literally forget about yourself. So it took a little bit of time, but yeah.
What can you tell us a little bit about what you learned about in therapy that you now carry with you as Jacob grows older, and some of
Mhm.
the things that have really helped you to continue to take care of yourself?
I think the biggest phrase that I tell myself every day, and mostly in the times where I am literally frustrated or I'm like, I don't know what to do, is that in the struggle, in the struggle, deep in the mud, I still can find my purpose. And if I find my purpose and my meaning or the meaning of something, uh, I can fight back. So I feel that we get all these challenges in life, and obstacles that we have to go through. And sometimes it takes a little bit of time to really like stand up from there, right? We definitely need to cry it. We need to feel the pain. But when we're ready, we literally need to, okay, I cannot just stay here and cry forever. I need to stand up, and that means that I'm gonna need to breathe, and it's gonna be painful. But I need to find the meaning of this. I need to find the purpose. And when you find the purpose, then literally you are giving yourself the permission to find options. You need to find the solutions. You start seeing the solutions, they open doors. Um, it takes time, it's not easy, but if you're able to work with a therapist, the therapist can give you many, many tools, and then you can start applying from there. And until today, I feel that that's what I do. It happened with Jacob's condition, and I think that it happened when I was diagnosed with cancer. In both times that they were two really harsh moments of getting a diagnosis, I said, well, I need to cry because it's really painful. But then I said, well, and then what else?
Mm.
Because I can't just stay here. I just need to find the purpose of this.
Oh my goodness, you have been through a lot. Um, wow. Was your cancer journey after Jacob was born or before?
Yeah, so Jacob was I was diagnosed. So Jacob was born August 2019. I was diagnosed with cancer, with cervical cancer, in December 2020.
Oh my goodness.
It was really close. So, and it was. I mean, I always say this, and I mean, I'm gonna be very open about this. Sometimes a doctor will say, you're gonna have cancer. You have a tendency to this for your cells or your immune system. You're gonna have cancer. But I also think that the stress that we live day by day in our lives, it makes our bodies and our minds just have the tendency to get sick. That's how I feel, right?
Mm.
Of course, this is not like medical literature.
But you know
Um,
yourself best, and you know what you've been
yeah,
through, and your
yeah.
experience is, exactly what you feel. So I appreciate you saying that.
Yes, I think that the stress has a lot to do with it. So when we were, I don't know, maybe I don't recall really good, but I think that Jacob was probably 8 months or something. And it was close to Thanksgiving weekend. We had a meeting with our immunology team, and our immunology team said, his body is not doing that good, not stable with the medicine that he's getting. We are calculating that probably his body is going to start, shutting down between 6 months to a year. And after that, I started a huge campaign with Jacob, that is the $10 for of love for Jacob, and I put it out there. I went on the news. We got a billboard. So I have worked so hard. Like, I was doing my full-time job, and I was also working on Jacob's campaign. And I was not like, I didn't stop. I was just going and going because I needed to raise the money to take him to Italy, in order to save his life. And I feel that that amount of stress, that those many days not sleeping properly, not eating properly, they took me to this harsh news of, you know what, well, you have cancer now. Um, and I feel that everything took me there. And then I feel that the cancer also gave me the pause. I needed to pause.
Mm.
That's what one of the purpose that I found with the cancer in my condition, right? In my situation, I felt I needed to pause. And pause was like, yes, Jacob has a condition. It is really complex. I cannot control what is going on. I can try to help. I can try to do the best that I can for my kid and to give him a an okay life and hopefully a normal life, even though he's isolated. Um, but I can kill myself in the process. I need to be there for him, and I need to be there for myself. So I pause also for myself, and I start taking things a little bit slower, I guess.
So, as Jacob is needing to remain isolated, and that's kind of what he has to do all of the time, right? Because of his no immune system. Is that right?
So with his condition, in terms of the ADA-SCID, these bubble kids or bubble children, they need to be isolated. Yes, they have different let's say they have different options. So the first option that is given to ADA-SCID children is bridge treatment called enzyme replacement therapy. Enzyme replacement therapy is an injection that here in Canada, each shot is $12,000, kind of
Wow.
approximately. Jacob nowadays he gets 3 shots per week. We're talking about per week. So it's each shot $12,000. That's the first one. And this injection, what it does is kind of like helps the body to recover, a couple of the areas that will be damaged because of the ADA and lowers the toxicity levels in their bodies. That's the first one. The second option that they have while they are having this bridge treatment is bone marrow transplant, right? In Jacob's case, well, it's very difficult that he will have a bone marrow a match because I'm from Colombia, Camilo is from Poland. It's a
Mm.
huge mix. It's really complex to find a match. Though we were part of the Canadian Blood Services and we did a campaign through Swap the World. And the third option, it's what they call gene therapy. Gene therapy is another type of, let's say, transplant or stem cell transplant, and here, like, it's available right now in Italy at a price of $1.5 million, and there is a clinical trial that we hope it opens really soon in California, thanks to Dr. Khan. So we are in the waiting list. We are probably 20 to 21 families waiting for this clinical trial, hopefully to open in California.
Wow, that those numbers that you're throwing out, it's hard to swallow and even fathom. Like $36,000 a week. It's just
Yeah,
it's not even comprehensible.
yeah, it is incredible. I know.
Oh, you mentioned these other families alongside you who are waiting for a possible clinical trial. Have you met these families? Have you guys connected online? How does that what does your community look like?
There is so initially when I was in the process of searching for answers because a SCID as a severe combined immunodeficiency, you don't find a lot of literature out there in terms of what is it, right? We have, for example, this movie long, long ago with John Travolta, the boy in the bubble. We have that
Mm.
reference. Nowadays, we do have another movie called The Sky is Pink, that is a Hindi movie. So those are kind of like the two references of stories with bubble children. So in the process of researching, I found a Facebook group called Skid Angels for Life Foundation. It's on Facebook, and there you find different families. Most of them have children with skid. So that was my first actually community or group to go to and find answers. There's a lot of families out there. They have a child with an ADA-SCID condition. There are other types of SCID there too. I'm not sure of who are. I mean, we have an idea of who of some of the families. I met some of the families online that are part of this transplant list, but not all of them. Um, so that was my first community. And then in Canada, we do have CIPO, which is the Canadian Immunodeficiency Patient Organization. They are the support of for PI for patients with primary immunodeficiency conditions. Hmm.
It's amazing to me how these communities form online, and then you get to have these kind of real relationships with families who are like, you say something, they're like, yes, I know exactly what you
Yes,
mean. And when you wrote to me, one of the beautiful things you said, and I asked you, what would you tell a parent whose child may be going through getting this diagnosis? And you said, let's cry together today, but tomorrow we are moving boulders until we get the help your little one needs. And
it is
that
true.
is
Yeah.
a hug in words and so beautiful.
I think that sometimes when we have these diagnoses, as I said before, we are not ready for this.
Mm.
And we look around and it's like nobody else has it. It's hard to find information and I'm feeling here hopeless. I don't know what to do. I literally don't know if he's gonna be okay. And then when you find the community, uh, and you find these moms or dads that they tell you, no, I have been there and it's gonna be okay and we can work it out. It's like
Mm.
you breathe, and then you're finally like, oh my gosh, you actually know how am I feeling. So um, it was beautiful to find them, and then when you have all these questions, and they clarify and they send you tips and links. So the picture gets a little bit bigger, and then you're like, okay, now I have a little bit more to work with.
Right.
So that also helps. I think that sometimes when we literally don't have information, we feel really hopeless.
Yeah.
But then when we start getting the knowledge and the information, and then the books and your immunology team giving you this and all that, I think that it complements so well that you start finding options, which is literally what you need at the end. You just need to have an idea of what is the condition, and from there you need to say, okay, well, what is going to be my plan,
Mm.
because I literally need a plan.
Mm-hmm.
um right, like if
Yeah.
I make a plan, I'm going to be able to, okay, so let's have this calendar, let's figure out the temperatures and what kind of level oxygen levels I need, and then for tomorrow what do I need. So that helps you keep fighting. But when you have nothing, it's like literally you're stumbling.
Yeah. That word you said hopeless. And then it sounds like you moved to, with the knowledge, you moved to feeling more empowered, more able to
Yeah.
come up with a plan. And so doing that alongside other people is amazing. Um, I have just one more question for you, but it's my favorite question.
Hmm.
I would love to know, tell us a little bit about the kind of little boy that Jacob is, what he likes, his personality, and what he's taught you, since he came into the world as your son.
Um. Oh, well, Jacob. Jacob. Well, of course, he's my little one, right? And then you're like talking about him so proudly. But I feel that Jacob is very, very brave. He just doesn't know. I feel that it's very incredible that not just Jacob, but all these little ones, all the pokes that they have to endure. that even, they probably have been poked more than any adult already, and they are still smiling. I feel that he recovers really good after the pokes, and that is really nice. I feel that our child specialist is really has helped us a lot in terms of the strategies that we need to do to reduce the medical trauma. So I feel that Jacob, even though he's in isolation and he's learning little by little, he doesn't understand completely his condition, but he knows. I always tell him, you need to clean your hands, you need to do this, you need to do that. He's very good at listening. He is working with his emotions. He's going to be 3 now, which is amazing because
Wow.
yeah, it's kid children. They are not. I mean, it's it's known that they don't pass their second birthday. So I'm very, very happy. He's very proud. He's very athletic. He's very sportsy. I mean,
Mm,
even though it's at home, he's very sportsy. He loves to do snowboarding, which is like, oh my
that's
gosh.
so cool.
Yeah. He helps me at home really good. I feel that he has teach me so many things, but I feel that I feel the courage that he, as I said, he doesn't know that he has that, but he's very brave, and very, even though in the hard times he knows that he has to go to hospital, he takes it with a very positive attitude, and he loves to go see his team of nurses. So I think that he's very, very brave.
He sounds just like the perfect, sweet Jacob that he is. I love that.
He is. He is. He's very kind, and I mean, when we're doing activities, I'm very proud of him. And I mean, I try my best not to, like, I know he has a condition, but I just literally treat him like another regular kid, right? Like, I feel that he deserves the opportunity to expand his knowledge, and to try his skills. I know that he's missing a lot of social skills, right? And there's a lot of things, that he's probably missing. But hopefully we can, through the activities that we do, hopefully he can take here and there, and maybe later on when he's able to get this transplant and get out of the bubble, then probably he will be able to, to have a little bit more outside.
To an outsider, you know, I feel like he's just so lucky to have a mom like you that is giving him, the best life that he can possibly have. And, it started with you taking care of yourself so that now you can do that and you can continue to take care of yourself too. And I lied because I have one more question for you that I'm just
Yeah.
interested
Oh
in.
no, yeah, go ahead.
What have you learned about yourself, since becoming Jacob's mom?
um, I never expect that I will be this kind of mother. Um, I thought I will learn to be a mom, the mom that, it just make things easy at home for Jacob. But then I found that I've become this
Mm,
fiercely mom, right? Like, I don't take a no for an answer until I know there's no more options. And I feel that that is really important to any mom out there, because somehow, I'm not saying that dad doesn't have the same sense, but I feel that moms know a lot, and we know when things are not right. And I feel that when, like, even though with your little one, even if your little one it's a healthy one, I feel that we need to push a little bit more the envelope in terms of the care that they need to receive when they need it. um, don't stop just with the simple answer. Just keep digging, and keep searching, and keep making in terms of health and in terms of education and everything, just push a little bit more, because as you mentioned, they are here, but it's up to us. We put the limitations to our kids, and we literally need to empower them, but also empower ourselves, knowing that we know what's best for our kids. So, yeah.
I think that's so wonderful. Well, thank you so much. And you mentioned that if we want to find you on Instagram, it's Jakob with a K, right? Jakob Little Fighter.
That's correct. Jakob Little Fighter. That's the Instagram. And I just published a book that it talks about the life of a bubble boy in isolation, and it's called In My Magical Bubble. And it has Jakob through a day and how he dreams about having friends and all these adventures. So hopefully that's the hope. I mean, that when the book is out and people gets to read it, it will stimulate conversations about children with medical struggles and differences. So hopefully that also helps in the future.
Oh my gosh, congratulations, first of all. Also writing a book just as an end of the podcast, kind of, whoa, oh my gosh, congrats. We will absolutely link to your book. I think that is such an important tool to teach perspective, whether you're the child who has a similar diagnosis or you're a healthy, well child. Learning about others' differences and what they go through only connects us more as a community. So I can't wait to order your book and see what you've created. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you for listening to the Child Life On Call podcast. I'm your host, Katie Taylor, and you can follow us at Child Life On Call on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Please rate and review to make it easier for other families to find us. We have cute merch available at www.bonfire.com/store/childlifeoncall, and you can listen to more episodes and find resources at childlifepodcast.com.